So today I'll be talking about something really, really important for me. It's about being a man and what that actually means. And that topic is so important to me because I had to figure out a lot of pieces about being a man myself. You're not being taught being a man at school in the entirety, at least not where I grew up in Germany. It's actually totally different. And the reason why is because society is a safety bubble. It's built like a safety bubble. It's built to protect you. And by that, a lot of male traits don't come out because a lot of male traits shine at the border of safety. And we're just built in that way. I will go into that a bit later. But yeah, and I've figured out a lot of pieces myself. I don't necessarily think they are complete or perfect. I'm still learning about myself every day. But I'm very, very sure that these pieces might help others explore themselves and figure out themselves. That is the most important and crucial part. So don't take any truths from YouTube like here. Take these little incentives which are given to you as ingredients and then go out into the world and make your own experiences. So to who am I talking today especially? I'm of course talking to young men, but I'm talking to anyone. And why? The major problem in our world is that conflict always arises from disconnection, or the belief from disconnect, but that's another topic for another time. So if you have disconnection, conflict just happens automatically. It's just how it works. It's basically the same thing. And you have conflict, for example, also with yourself as a young man, because you're disconnected from yourself, right? In the moment where you find more pieces of yourself, you find more peace. It's really funny that these words are actually so close, peace and pieces. But it's also important that we heal the disconnection to other men, that you understand how other men work and also work with them then more harmoniously. And I definitely also address here women to learn their lesson, hopefully. Because I think it's also very crucial for us for having healthy relationships and marriages that we understand each other, and that women give us the space that we need, and vice versa too, by the way. It's very important for us men also to learn how women work and to give them their space and, for example, let them talk out when they have something on their heart and don't just propose solutions the first minute. That's definitely not working out. I definitely highly disadvise from that. So the moment where you form a connection, actually, and connection arises, the conflict resolves itself. That is something really beautiful I really love about this, that disconnect is conflict and healing is connection. And the moment where you form an empathic connection, and I say empathic, the other person must feel that you are understanding them and vice versa. That is really, really, really crucial. In that moment, actually, the conflict resolves itself. It runs away from, like it just doesn't happen. It's really weird. And the solution finds you in that moment automatically. It's really magical almost. So that is why I want to address it today, that men are more connected to themselves, that they are more connected to others, and that women and men are also much better off. That would be really great. So there are two major differences between women and men, and they both come from testosterone, which we just have. And one is aggression and the other is a strong sexual drive. And aggression is just incredibly strong. We all know that the majority of people in the prisons by far are men. We are just built to be aggressive. And it's very easy to judge it badly, actually, to see it as something bad. But I actually like it very much because it's for me like a tool. You can use it in many different ways. And it's very important that at some point you as a person learn to address that part, to study it, to observe it, and to explore it. And last, then to reintegrate with it. That you entirely become one piece with it again and don't try to avoid it. Because nowadays we are taught often that aggression and fighting and all these kinds of things are very bad, but they are actually something very beautiful. And I say that because many see it as something bad because it stirs up conflict. But at the same time, I always also like to say to people, it is coming from love, actually. Because aggression is actually protection. We do that, we have this trait to protect whatever we like and love, like our family, which can include our animals, whatever it is, your community, my neighbors, for example. I would definitely protect them if something were to happen. I love them way too much for that, even though they give me a headache from time to time, but who doesn't? I give myself a headache, that's fair. So that is what we are protectors. And the first and foremost thing you need to learn about yourself as a man is that you need to deal with your own problems. There's no one behind you can expect to deal with them for you. That just doesn't work. That is not who we are. We are the first and last line of defense. And I always like to make a bit this mind experiment, which helps people understand that a bit better. Because in order to understand yourself as a man, you need to go out of the safety bubble of society. Society often has a narrative that we can be weak, and emotional and vulnerable and whatever it is as a man. And that's true for us while we live in society. But the thing is just, a human is like a cake. You have different pieces and you need to cultivate, explore and understand both parts of it. And the other part is, of course, still the defensive, violent, aggression, whatever you may call it, without judging it. You need to go into that too. So that is very important why you need to go a bit out of society. And if you imagine, for example, you live in the mountains with your family or friends or whatever, doesn't matter, but you live in the mountains and there are all kinds of different dangers. There are avalanches, there are wild animals, many things can happen. And you cannot expect anyone to man up behind you. Because imagine you have a wife and kids. Would you expect any one of them to be actually the line of defense if a boar comes, for example? You cannot, right? And that is just what we men are. We are the first and last line of defense. This is why we have this aggression to protect what we love, to protect others. I really like, by the way, this analogy of going into nature often, because it cures a lot of illusions. Society is like an illusionary bubble. It doesn't mean that it's bad or good. It's just what it is. It's a very protective illusionary bubble. And that bursts very quickly once you understand and go out into nature and live there. And a lot of problems there, they just don't exist. You figured out that they were just made up in the first place, right? That's why I love it so much. Now, we as men are then the first and last line of defense. And one analogy I can also tell you, one story of my own life was when I stepped away from my family willingly. And why did I really love that? Because from that moment on, I was my own man. I knew that the moment I would screw up in my life, there would be no one to rescue me. And that is the moment where you man up the most, where you take away the safety net, where you train your martial arts right next to the cliff. Please don't do something too silly. But the moment where safety is gone, you get a lot more serious, actually, and you grow a lot. And I actually really love that. I really love that as a man. And I see a lot of people and young men actually around me who have the safety of the family all the time. They live with their family very long. I lived very long with my family too. That was one of my bigger mistakes. But I know that they would grow very quickly out of their situation and would really, really enjoy their life much more if they would just go their own way. I really love that. So try that. Will be a lot of fun. I can assure you that. Mothers never like their sons leaving. Now, a big problem we still have as men is emotionality. And that makes a lot of sense because we are the first and last line of defense. So we can't afford to lose ourselves in the moment of danger, because otherwise the people will get hurt which we love so dearly. And there must be still a certain release. So the thing is, we suppress the emotions a lot as men, but you can't always suppress them because it's like a cycle. It always rests deep inside of yourself, and the moment you don't release it, it will show itself in certain behavior, and that pattern will repeat until you figure out what is down there inside of yourself. That is anyway what we do, for example, when we do internal cultivation. That is exactly like that. Figure out why you are acting in certain ways, and you figure out that it's something from the past and you need to release it. And I would strongly recommend for men that also to find emotionally a connection to themselves. For that they have this space, whatever that space is in that moment, to release their emotions. And there are many ways how to do that. Most of you might already know that you can do that alone. You can pound a punching bag. You can do a nice workout, whatever. There's many ways how you can alone listen to music and release your emotions, right? That is one of the things which is really important, and explore yourself out there. There's way too many things to do, actually, right? But something I would really recommend also is to talk to other men. I found my talks with other men incredible, just absolutely incredible. When two men just sit down and talk the shit out of their life. And I talk to other men about what problems they had in their marriages and how I struggled with myself every day, all kinds of different reasons. And I really love that because it's such a meaningful conversation. And it's not even a talk which needs a solution, because the solution itself is, we are already most of the time aware of it. We just need to realize it, but it's just very valuable to just get it out. That is already the release. And then also usually you learn your lesson and it doesn't come necessarily again easily if you're learned your lesson for real. But one thing I still also want to recommend very largely is talk to other women. A good woman you trust. I mean, they're literally built for that. Like, they're so great to talk about emotions or any kinds of things like that. So if you have a good wife, girlfriend, friend, it doesn't matter, and you can trust, you can really well connect to them, talk with them about it. I'm pretty sure they will have an open ear for you. That is really it's great. Women are really great at that. So we men have often still this difficulty of emotional awareness. I still want to emphasize this. Not just that we suppress it, but often we are also not aware of that. And so please, women out there, have an understanding that it's just not in our nature. It's not that we want to offend or anything like that. But you could literally say in the past, even of society, we got it pounded out of us, emotionality, that you needed to be a man and strong. I would say nowadays we are rather getting it pounded back into us. Yeah, after the pendulum swings left, it goes to the right. Yin and yang just hunt each other. But nowadays things are rather taught to be very friendly and you know the story, I guess. But still be aware that you need to nurture that emotional awareness. And I like to say that too, because you need to nurture both the aggression and the emotional awareness. Because I, for example, had myself closed up really strongly in the past because of past events where life was really shitty. And my way to survive was just to totally knock off my emotions. Otherwise, if I wouldn't have disconnected, I think I would have killed myself at some point. So the major deal there is that you need to connect to your emotions. And that is so important because women helped me reconnect to them. And the moment I had it back was like gaining superpowers, because I understood a lot of things much better. I understood, especially, of course, women around myself much better. It's really like not seeing with your eyes that well. And you need to train that you can see much better and have a healthier interaction with your environment. Yeah. So that is why it's available to me. Now, the second difference between women and men especially is the sexual drive. And that is very, very different for us because it's a strong physical urge. It's almost a need. It is driving you crazy if you don't take care of it. It is incredibly, incredibly hard to tame and to understand and to learn. And I would say at the journey of internal cultivation, it's one of the harder ones because it's just so incredibly strong. It's a huge mountain to deal with. And the difference is just often, especially between women and men, as far as I can understood it, that for women, sexuality is a very emotional thing, right? There needs to be emotional connection, and from that, the sexual desire also arises. Of course, there's also other pieces, but majorly, yeah, that's very valuable for women. And the same is also for men. A sexual interaction has no value if you don't have this emotional part of it. For example, having a valuable partner who you want to share beautiful time with, and then out of that comes the sexuality. But still, beyond that, there's this piece which seemingly women don't have that much. It's a strong physical need. It's an urge, and it's building up, and it's building up very strongly. And everyone who pretends that is not true, look at the sexual industry. Like, it's basically made for men, and that speaks languages, right? Just look at how it works. And so it is out of any question or discussion that men have this extreme urge, and you need to take care of it in a sense because it's building up usually. It has a cycle. It depends on the age, actually. I think the shortest is around 4 days for very young men, and it reaches up to a month when you're around 60 to 70. That you have your sexual need cycle is around a month. I would still say, though, don't take this as a measurement because you can work with it. I will go into that in a second. Now, for us men, it feels very strongly like being starved of water when we don't have the sexual interaction. So it's really hard to in the beginning, at least when you start internal cultivation and to approach it, to deal with it, because it's just, it feels like we cannot live without it. That is really maybe one of the best definitions, because it's an urge. But you figure out ways actually to deal with it. There are a lot of lessons to be learned on the way. There are external factors which strongly influence you. Of course, what women wear around you. If it's like, the worst for me is usually yoga pants. I'm a bit open there, because it just triggers the maximum sexual tension you could imagine. Because you show everything, but you hide everything at the same time. I like to go to the sauna from time to time. Where I live at the moment, it's difficult, but where I used to live was very common. And I actually found to be naked very relaxing for men and women, because the secret's out. Yeah, there's nothing to be hidden anymore. So there's like a relaxation about it. But when you start hiding things, the tension rises. And yoga pants just hit this narrow space between maximum tension in both ways. I would never advocate that women shouldn't wear it. They should do whatever they want. You know, we also need to have the responsibility to deal with ourselves and our sexual drive as men. All I want to say with this is for women to understand a bit, also us, why these things sometimes make it much harder for us to deal with ourselves, especially in certain situations. Now, the sexual drive is something which always starts within yourself. That's why I just told the reason that women should still be able to wear whatever they want, just that they understand us better. But you have a thought. Sexuality comes from within yourself, which arises from a thought. You can't control what thoughts come up. That's just how you work as a human. It's like a burp. It just comes. And they come in all colors, but they come from what you consume usually. That's why I said that before. But then you can control it. You can let it go. You don't need to necessarily follow that thought or amplify it stronger and stronger and stronger and get it more into trouble and get that sexual urge even stronger and stronger. So you have that control if you can master that. And I would really, really like to tell a young man here that try to learn to live with it better. Try to deal with these urges and thoughts in a better way. And I don't say give it up and don't look at women. I find it very good that you acknowledge that as a man, it's just natural to that you like to look at a beautiful woman. It's like everyone looks at beautiful flowers, you know. It's a beautiful thing to watch, and I think it's just natural to find it beautiful, and that's okay. But where you stop that line of thought, that is up to you before it gets out of hand. Like, you can really find it beautiful and not let your sexual drive get too strongly. And that is a really great treasure once you learn more about that. Now, beyond what's going on in your head, of course, you can deal with sexuality also differently. They're very funny traditional advices. Try them out. It's really funny. You'll never understand it if you haven't tried it. Like cold showers, for example. It's strange, but it actually really works in reducing the sexual urge. Regular exercise. Regular exercise is mandatory for men, I would say. We are just the defenders. We need to get that out of ourselves, this urge to fight and exercise. But also it just straightens out everything you have in the body, with like stress, but also sexual tension or anything. It just flushes it. And I would say it regulates it. Even I wouldn't even say flush. It regulates. Of course, you can also, by the way, that is not something for most people, but you can convert sexual energy inside of your body into different types of energy. It's not something a person which doesn't do cultivation really understands. You need to explore that part in yourself. And once you get better at that, then you can really convert. It's like converting a feeling inside of your body. It's converting a feeling into something else, and then you have something there available. It's really funny because you can do many things. You start when you, for example, go more into your body during self-cultivation. I can cure motion sickness by will, which is very funny. So I can shift the energy of, I have no other expression. I can shift the feeling into a different feeling, and then it's gone. It's really fun. So yeah, but there's of course still for sexuality the good old-fashioned approach of sexual release. And I want to still warn and advocate you strongly against pornography. because it's just way too easy to get, and it's way too easy to get lost in it. And it's a very, very unrealistic reward system, I would call it. And the reason why I will advocate so strongly against it is because I experienced a young man getting lost in that in my life, and he's still lost in that. And it just saddens me so greatly every time I think about it, because he's just such a great person. He could be so much more than he is. Like, he already had some foundation, but he just got totally dragged down, also by other things. But sexuality was basically half the bill. And it just saddens me because it's so hard once you get these unrealistic patterns and expectations which totally torment you down there. You can't come up so easily anymore, because the reward cycle is just so strong that, yeah, it's just basically, you can't only get out of such dark places by going through the darkest tunnel you can find there, and then you come out. But that is fucking hard, and most people don't do that. So yeah, be careful there with what you consume and what you do, because that's what you do is what you are in the end. So these are the two things which really set us apart from women. It's the aggression and the sexual drive, and there are many aspects to both of them. Figure out yourself is the first and foremost advice I can give to anyone. I hope you found some pieces inside of this talk which might help you on your journey, and see you soon.